welcome back to Act 2, One Sip Closer. Wasn't sure how much I liked Act 1. I think I've listened to it 12 times. Not because I want to hear my own voice, but I'm just judging my performance and just how much it made sense. And there were some parts in there that didn't make sense. They sure made sense on paper, but they didn't make sense in listening to it. So I'm gonna revamp or revisit just a couple pieces. So here we go. It started with 13 cents, 2 pennies, 11 cents, and then a minus 13. You don't notice that kind of thing unless you live in your bank account, like it's a spare bedroom. Coffee roasting isn't glamorous. Half of it's fire and timing. The other half is spreadsheets and hoping the shipping gods are in a generous mood. This is October 17th. I was on my way to the shop before we roasted anything, smelling like fresh brewed coffee that I had just spilled on my shirt. Good intentions, and that's when I saw them. Web-initiated payment at Red River employee, FCU. Account verify, Sharia Pfizer. Line 1, 2 cents. Line 2, 11 cents. Line 3, 13 cents. That's the financial equivalent of somebody whispering through your keyhole. It's not a break-in, not yet. Just a curious little hello from a stranger that already knows your name. There's a kind of dread that only shows up in the quiet. The kind where your brain says, nah, you're fine. But your spine says, stand up. So I do what every sensible adult does at midnight. I make more coffee, and I open up 12 tabs on Chrome that I don't need. Cents, verification pings, a different bank, Red River Employees FCU, and a name, folded right in line like it belonged there, Sharia Pfizer. If you don't know banking, here's the trick. Those tiny deposits are a jiggle on the doorknob, a handshake between accounts. If they go through, a larger pull can follow. Smooth. Quiet. Practiced. Look, I'm not a cop. I'm a coffee guy by night, but I'm also a Federal Railroad inspector by day. And I know a chain of evidence when I see one trying to right itself. If you leave a mess in my house, I'll sweep it into a dustpan and label the broom. Step 1, assume nothing. That's hard to do. Step 2, timestamp everything. And step 3, who the hell is Sharia Pfizer? And why is her name in my books? The internet shows up like a chihuahua with a badge. Too eager, not enough training. You have to filter the bark from the bite. But threads start to show. A name, then an address, and then a family constellation that lights up like runway markers in the fog. Do you know what social media is? It's the world's loudest library. Everyone is whispering secrets at full volume. And today I'm going all in, flipping through every page the social media library has to offer. Is Sharia Pfizer a fake name? Is there a real one? Is it random? Or is she a victim too? I can't answer any of these questions. I'm assuming, right in the face of step 1. My first stop was Facebook. How many Sharia Pfizers are on Facebook? I found 2. One is, well, I'll let you be the judge. I imagine you're probably looking. And the other one I found is just a blank page. A name, no pictures, no dates, a few likes, nothing. It seemed like a dead end. I'm a Gen Xer. I still believe in Facebook. I'm not boomer committed, but I use it like crazy. But I had another tool, Truthfinder. Shout out to Truthfinder. They get a lot wrong, but they get a lot. And they had what I needed. Names. This is probably going to sound like I'm doxing folks, and unfortunately I can't tell the story to you any other way. There's going to be some name drops, but it's all public record. So, as we were. Truthfinder, I got her address, assumed email, and a bunch of folks that were connected to her. So I go back to Facebook. Now, I don't need a warrant to see what your mom posted on your graduation day. Chiquita Pfizer, that's her mom. And she posted the Clarksdale High School diploma that read, Sharia Simone Pfizer, 2019. And that's not a rumor. It was right there in ink. So now I continue searching. Stalking might be the right term here. Stalking was definitely the proper word here. I find everyone's Facebook, except for Sharia. Everyone on the Truthfinder had a page. They all had pictures in front of the house that was listed as the home address on Truthfinder. All of them. The yellow siding, the wrought iron on the windows, the same car parked all around the house. They're all there, except for one person. I can't find the Sharia Pfizer on Facebook. I'm convinced at this point that Sharia is a made-up name. Someone forged a birth certificate, made up a fake utility bill, maybe faked a social security card, enough to whip up a license registered to this address in Clarksdale, Mississippi. But then, I find it. There's a profile. Rebecca Banks. Same orbit of people, same images, same baby photos. There's a guy there named Walter Banks. He's smiling like a man who knows he's in one of the pictures that matters. An alias? Maybe. Coincidence? Sure. If we believe in winning the lottery twice while being struck by lightning during a solar eclipse. I spend the entire weekend balls deep in the internet. Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Truthfinder, cluster maps. I must have had 30 tabs open at any given second.
Investigators would later note that social media linkages and public records tied Rebecca Banks to Sharia Simone Pfizer with overlapping family relations and addresses centered in Clarksdale, Mississippi.
Translation, the internet told on her. And it happens all the time. Here's what you need to understand about 13 cents. It's not about the money. It's about process. Scammers love process. They're lazy in the way marathoners are lazy. Only in the small stuff. They'll run 26 miles to steal $2,000, but they won't invent a new trick when the old one works. I pulled the ledger again. I look at the rhythm of the deposits, the heat of usual outflows, payroll patterns, subscription drops. Nothing else in there was weird, just those 3 little blips, like Morse code from a ship you can't see. People think that the violation is the money. Money's a symptom. The violation is the audacity. It's someone tapping your pockets in a crowded room and then winking when you turn around. So I do the next sensible thing. I write it down like it'll be read in court someday, because it might. October 17th, a 3-line anomaly. From Red River Federal Credit Union, the embedded name was Sharia Pfizer. I don't fire off any emails yet. I wait, because they're testing the door. The push is coming. I'll let you in on a little secret. I'm good at waiting. I'm a roaster. I'm also a railroad inspector. All timing is waiting. Heat, smell, color, then the drop. It's a dance where the beans lead you, and you try not to step on their feet. Where the railroad remains still for what seems like an eternity, until suddenly it isn't. Everything is moving at once, threatening catastrophe at any minute. I go to work, come home. I'm trying not to think about it, which means I'm thinking about it like it's my job. I fall asleep to the sound of numbers. I wake up to the same. I run to the shop, pack orders, pet the dogs, pretend this is normal. It isn't. Then October 21st rolls in, and the world moves exactly the way I expected, but I hoped that it wouldn't. $2,000 out. Not pending, not we'll see. It's gone. A straight shot to Red River FCU, and the destination reads like deja vu. Sharia Simone Pfizer. If you've never had money stolen out of your business account, imagine watching someone siphon gas from your car while you're still driving it. You press the pedal, the engine revs, but the tank just laughs. You're not going to go far. For anyone that knows me, driving on E, it's a thing. I love being on E. It's a risk, a test to see just how far you can get before you have to refill. Or before you're walking along the highway hoping for a ride that you know you won't accept. Because I can't accept the help. I'm stubborn. I'm stubborn that way. I don't ask for it, and when offered, I can't accept it. Somewhere in my mind, I'm too proud. Stupid's probably the right word, but to me it's pride. And the uncertain fear that there will be strings attached. That someone is keeping a tally. And someday they're going to show me the scorecard. It's happened. It weighs on me. It won't happen again. Back to the story. I move. Screenshots. Phone calls. Internal tickets. And because I speak fluent bureaucracy, I start the paper trail. You don't get justice later if you don't start your paperwork now. This is where the story wants a hero. Some white hat cybercrime wizard who sweeps in and says, I've seen this before, sit tight. Instead, I get a labyrinth with hold music. I must have called 20 phone numbers. First, I called a place called Red River Employee Services. Turns out that was a payroll company. They had no idea who Sharia Simone Pfizer was. They had no record of my bank account. I begged this representative on the phone to search everything that they could, and they did. They were super cooperative. I almost wish my money was stolen and it had something to do with these people because they were a big help. But it wasn't there. I was in the wrong place. So I call Fifth Third. I call the fraud hotline. I think I talked about this in the last episode. And I'm just met with a call center with people that I barely understand. They can barely understand me. And even if they could, they were in no position to help me.
Thank you for calling us. Goodbye.
And finally, I call Red River Federal Credit Union. I get to talk to somebody. And they wouldn't give me any information, but they could hear the panic in my voice. They could sympathize with what was happening to me. So I asked, I said, I know you can't tell me anything, but please just tell me this. Am I in the right place? Am I calling the right phone number? Or should I spend my time and my effort looking somewhere else? And the woman I talked to said, you're in the right place. So now, I start Act 3 before Act 2 is even done. I start building the case while I'm still bleeding. But that's for later. Right now, I stare at the line item that says external transfer, like it owes me an apology.
On October 21st, 2025, an unauthorized ACH withdrawal of $2,000 was executed from the complainant's Fifth Third bank account to an account at Red River Employee in the name of Sharia Simone Pfizer.
There's a sterile version. My version has smoke in it. Here's where people screw up. They panic. They start throwing words around like hack and compromise without proof. And the internet loves a good bonfire. And if you're not careful, you become the kindling. So I stop, I breathe, I write. Date and time. Transaction strings. Names as they appear on the screen. Institutions. Internal ticket numbers. My state of mind was irritated, caffeinated. And at this point, I was done being polite. 13 cents became $2,000. Sharia Pfizer went from a ghost in my ledger to a tenant in my head, living rent free. And Clarksdale, Mississippi, a place I'd never thought about, it suddenly felt like an address, a second address. You ever notice how small towns have their own gravity, where words travel faster than light? Bank tellers might know about people's breakups. The lady at the diner knows all about your truck. and somebody's moving money that they shouldn't, sooner or later, a cousin's boyfriend's barber is going to say something to somebody on Facebook. So I go back to the tangle of Rebecca Banks and family tags and all the Sharia Pfizer tags from folks thanking her for laying their hair braids. I follow comments like breadcrumbs. And I'm not going to spoil it yet, that's a later act, but it's enough to tell me I'm not chasing a hacker in a hoodie. I'm chasing a person. A mother, a sister, a daughter, a friend, a thief. Someone who thought the internet was a fog machine and was just big enough to hide behind.
Open source intelligence, including public posts, tagged photos, and business listings, can provide corroborating evidence linking legal identities to online aliases. In this case, profiles and posts suggested an overlap between Rebecca Banks and Sharia Simone Pfizer, centered around Clarksdale, Mississippi.
Yeah, suggested. The internet's favorite legal word. I don't need it to prove anything yet, but I need it to point. There's a point in every hunt where you realize you're not arguing with a problem. You're inviting it to confess. Problems love to talk if you give them enough rope. I can hear my dog in the background. He's playing with a squeaky toy, and I imagine Chanel's gonna go, "Chewy, cut it out." I hear him run down the stairs. There he is. Welcome, my friend. Let me press pause. So before all this, 13 cents knocked on my door. 2, 11, minus 13. A stranger said hello using my money. I labeled it, I dated it, and I waited to see if the whisper turned into a hand. And it did. $2,000 left our Fifth Third business account like it had better places to be. Web-initiated payment to Red River Federal Credit Union. Name on the other end, Sharia Simone Pfizer. I didn't start yelling. I did the adult thing. I became extremely boring and painfully thorough. Time of the posting, the item number, the internal transaction string, the screenshot, duplicate screenshot, offsite copy. You don't get justice because you're right. You get justice because you document being right.
On October 21st, 2025, a $2,000 ACH withdrawal was executed from the complainant's account at Fifth Third Bank to a recipient account at Red River FCU in the name of Sharia Simone Pfizer. This transaction was not authorized by the complainant, and he's mad as hell.
Banks have policies the way cats have opinions. Plenty of them, none of them yours. So while I'm on hold, listening to a flute trying to negotiate with my blood pressure, I start a parallel plan. Federal and local. IC3 federal report of bank fraud and a police report, the works. So October 22nd, I file with Toledo Police Department. Case number, time, description, and then I put it on a higher shelf, IC3 with the FBI. October 23rd, not because I think a Fed is going to rappel through the ceiling of a credit union, but because every official footprint is weight on the scale.
It's October 22nd, and we are on the scene in the Iron Beam Coffee crime machine, where the complainant, Fred Dedrick, just filed a local police report with the Toledo PD. He also submitted a federal IC3 complaint documenting the unauthorized transfer and associated account metadata.
While the paperwork is stretching its legs, I'm still at the scene of the crime, the ledger. And now the ledger has a twin. October 22nd, pending transaction, another $2,000. With the identical description string that won't stop saying her name out loud. Web-initiated payment, Sharia Simone Pfizer, external transfer. It's the digital equivalent of a burglar autographing your wall with a Sharpie. A few hours later, the system blinks. A second $2,000 attempt noses towards the exit, and it got out. But I built a two-way defense. First line of defense was a hold letter. Fifth Third Bank showed my account as negative $300,000. Needless to say, it was never positive $300,000, but at this current moment, it showed negative $300,000. And that was like a fire door. It was trying to block any transaction or any money that would come out. I also sent an email to Red River Federal Credit Union. I addressed it to the VP of Fraud and Compliance. I sent it with an alert, a copy of my transaction record, and the feeling that something was going south. I didn't get a response immediately, but they took action. They froze her account, unbeknownst to me, and the second $2,000 withdrawal was reversed on the same day. It wasn't a win exactly, but it was more like the bleeding had slowed. So now we had to talk to Red River. I reach out to Red River, not the front desk, but the VP of Fraud and Compliance. I'll change her name to Mother Teresa, because it felt like she was Mother Teresa in that moment. I don't typically write like a guy who lost money. I write like a guy building a case. This has a lot to do with my regular job. I give her the detail a detective would want and the tone that a tired adult would respect. And her reply was the first good oxygen I've had all week. She says, we gave her the option of coming into the branch to deposit the funds or send the money back from the Apple Pay transactions. If she does come in for a deposit, the police department can request it. Send the money back from the Apple Pay transactions? Translation, she came in, she talked, and she admitted. And if I can get a cop who isn't allergic to his phone, we might even be able to get the footage.
Email correspondence from Red River EFCU confirms the suspect admitted to receiving the funds and described that they offered her a way out of trouble if she returned the money. The institution indicated that branch footage and bank records could be requested with an appropriate subpoena by law enforcement.
There's a particular flavor of relief you only taste when a professional says you're not crazy. Mother Teresa also warns me, Clarksdale is small. Police department may be less than enthusiastic. Use our name and we'll back you. So I do the most unsexy, most effective thing you can do in a cross-state mess. I keep building paper. The IC3 federal complaint, check. Local Toledo Police Department report, check. Bank to bank, that was in motion. Now I need teeth. Something that bites before a detective decides to stop screening his calls. I called the Clarksdale Police Department, ready to share everything that I had so far. The first call, they hung up on me. The second call, hang on please, I'll transfer you to a detective. And then that call hangs up. I call again, same thing, 5 times in a row. I get transferred to Detective Dial Tone. You gotta be fucking kidding me. I have a case here, right? I have a crime. I've already done 50% of the work at this point. I know I gotta call him back. I need somebody to listen to me. So I wait a little while. I'm certain I'm annoying them by now. The same person's gonna hear my voice on the phone again at the Clarksdale Police Department, and they're gonna hang up before I even get a word out. They'll probably even see my number come up on caller ID. They're not gonna answer it. They don't give 2 shits about this dude from Toledo. So I wait about an hour, and I call back. And I get this cop that answers to listen to me for just a second. But she finally replies that detectives have been in court all day, and if you want to report a crime, you have to come to the front desk. I deliver a few choice words about their responsibility, probable cause, evidence. I'm talking to a wall. She hangs up. So enter the civil system. October 24th, I filed Diedrich vs. Pfizer in Coahoma County Justice Court, not for revenge, for subpoena power. If there's anything I've learned from listening to true crime podcasts, watching documentaries, listening to God knows how many stories about financial fraud, bloody murder. I know this is not that, not nearly as exciting, but this was exciting for me. I wasn't going to be able to get anyone to listen to me. But if I filed a civil suit, I would be able to generate a subpoena. And then I could give that subpoena to Red River, Fifth Third, and I could get some documents. Neither one of these places would give me anything that wasn't valuable to me. I just got, inference and let's wait and see. Our fraud department will handle it. I couldn't get anything concrete to show a police department or a police officer, a detective.
On October 24th, 2025, the complainant filed a civil action in the Coahoma County Justice Court and requested subpoenas to compel the production of records from Red River EFSQ and Fifth Third Bank.
People think procedure is a dirty word. It isn't. It's a bridge when the phone tree insists on hanging up on you. So after I filed the civil case in Coahoma County Court, paying my $85, I called the Coahoma County Sheriff's Office. Now, Coahoma County isn't a top-tier, well-funded organization. The website's outdated. The addresses listed there are wrong. The phone numbers go everywhere and anywhere in the county office except for where I need. Almost every number I can find just leads to the jailhouse front desk. Every call ends in this: you're going to have to go over to the sheriff's office, like I live right down the street. So I'm left with emails. And I use a tactic that I personally hate, but it usually works. I had a list of everyone that worked at the sheriff's office. I had an organizational chart with Sheriff Magsby right at the top. So I sent an email with the Toledo police report, the civil suit receipt and the file number, and as much evidence as I had so far. I send it to the sheriff, and I send it to every publicly available email that I could find, including the Attorney General from Mississippi. Here's where the breaching stops being purely digital, and it gets human. My inbox lights with somebody who isn't trying to make me go away. Her name was Carol Dixon, and she's the administrative assistant at the Coahoma County Sheriff's Office. She can't arrest anyone, she can't issue a warrant, but she can listen. And in a small town like Clarksdale, Mississippi, that's currency. So Carol called me, and with the voice of a loving fairy godmother, she listens to my story. And she says, based on the address you gave me, this is in a Clarksdale Police Department jurisdiction. My heart sinks in that moment. But I explain to her my current standing with the Clarksdale Police Department. And she says, honey, you hang on for just a minute. She comes back to the phone literally 20 minutes later. And she says, honey, forgive my accent, honey, one of our detectives is going to call you, and that's all I can do. And then she hangs up. She does send me a follow-up email, though. And here's what it said. It was a pleasure speaking with you on the telephone today. I've spoken to the sheriff, and he's directed that someone from our department will reach out to you in the next week. That line shouldn't feel like a win, but it did, and it felt like oxygen. While that wheel starts turning, I keep doing my other job, forensics with a coffee stain. If the $2,000 was the hit, Act 2 is where we're going to name the weapon and the aim. ACH pulls don't happen because a hacker typed abracadabra. They happen because someone got your routing and account numbers and linked them, usually with these microdeposits, and then verified the link through two-factor, which you weren't watching for. Sometimes they spoof emails, sometimes they social engineer a call, sometimes they dirty dance with a bank employee who's 2 steps from being fired. The oldest trick in the modern book: use someone else's clean account as the middleman. The money's not dirty until it gets touched. And meanwhile, back at the ledger, that returned item after the bank hold tells me 2 things. Whoever did this thought the first pull was a green light, and they were confident enough to try it again. But confidence, turns out, was a footprint. Well, so was sloppiness. And the slop starts leaking through my phone the minute the civil summons lands on a certain doorstep. But that's another act. We'll save that for Act 3. Right now, the breach is me versus the machine, and I'm winning on points. The money was moved, the hold was engaged, the reports were filed, the feds were notified, Red River Credit Union is talking to me, the sheriff's office is listening. You can almost hear the breach ceiling behind me. But let me say the quiet part out loud. Everything I've done so far, all of this, it costs time. And time is money's mean older brother. While I'm chasing strings and stamping PDFs, I also ended up paying our employee late, and I'm spending money on fees that I didn't owe, and explaining to a business I built with my wife why trust is a bill that you pay daily. We paid so many non-sufficient fund fees for things that I couldn't get in front of when this account was closed. Some things I didn't even remember were supposed to come out of the account. And some of it was just I couldn't get through another company's process fast enough to change this account to another account. So people that were expecting to get paid are pulling money out of this account like they had for years. And they're just being met with reversals. And each one of these is coming back to me with an average fee of like $100. And we're up to about 8 of those so far. I'm certain at this point that we have it cut off, but something else may sneak up on me. The other part that was bad is money is also being deposited into this account from a variety of methods of ways that we collect payment for coffee. And I can't touch it. I can't touch the money that's coming in. See, that's the things about a breach, about this. It's not just a door. It's your day. It's your sleep. It's the way your dogs tilt your heads when you walk past them in the kitchen because you look like a storm cloud in boots. So I do what I always do when something tries to take my equilibrium. I take a nap. Just kidding. I didn't sleep yet. But I put it on a timeline and I make it March and I head back to the internet, back to Facebook. I'm watching people incessantly that I don't know. I'm mapping the route from their house to the local Red River branch in Clarksdale. It's 1 mile exactly. I'm virtually driving the route on Google Maps, and I feel like I know every nook and cranny of this town at this point. I am obsessed. October 17th, microtransactions. October 21st, the first $2,000 hit. October 22nd, the second $2,000 hit. Then the block, and then the reversal. Thank God, the second attempt suffocated. October 23rd, I filed the IC3 federal complaint. Red River admits that she came in. They came in because her account was blocked. She came in because her account was blocked. And they also let me know that there's an Apple Pay pathway noted. October 24th, I file a civil case. I get subpoenas prepared. I get the sheriff's office looped in. And behind the scenes, the internet is telling on itself. The names, the faces, the addresses, business pages, all pointing to a city I've never been to or heard of, and now I'm learning every inch of it mile by mile on Google Maps.
The sequence of reporting: bank, local police, federal IC3, parallel civil action, creates a layered evidentiary trail. Financial institutions frequently require formal requests or subpoenas before releasing footage or detailed logs.
In plain English, nobody moves until the stamp hits the paper. I want you to hear this next part without the heat. I don't think this world is full of villains. I think the world is full of temptation and bad math. Some people do arithmetic with other people's money, and they're always off by a soul. But when you breach my account, you don't get a sermon. You get a summons. So that's Act 2. The breach into my account wasn't cinematic. It was procedural. It looked like hold music, form fields, phone calls, dial tones. It sounded like vinyl pops and printer motors, and it felt like work. The kind that earns the next part. Because once the civil papers land, screenshots start pouring in. This stops being about wires and internet, bank accounts. It starts to become about people. And people panic. They text. Act 3 will be where the story stops being quiet and it starts talking back. I'll see you there.